When you are sad and want to forget someone, this video will help you on how to forget people you don't want to think about. Sometimes you just need to forget about the person who made you sad in the first place. Whether it's because they've hurt you or you don't feel like dealing with them right now, sometimes it's best to just push them out of your mind and move on. And for you to forget someone you don't want to think about, make a list of things that make you happy. This can be anything from spending time with friends or family, going for walks, reading books, listening to music, etc. Write down as many things as you can and focus on doing these things instead of thinking about the person who made you sad. Talk to people who make you happy. This could be your friends, family members, or people you work with. Spending time with positive people will help lift your spirits and make forgetting about the person easier. Also, get in some exercise. Exercise is known for its ability to improve moods, and forgetfulness is known to be a symptom of stress and anxiety. Working off those frustrations by going for a run or hitting the gym can help clear your head and make remembering the person less likely. So what does it mean to forget someone? When you forget someone, you try to block them from your mind. You may avoid thinking about them or talking to them. This is a way to get over someone. Remembering someone can be difficult. When you remember someone, it is usually because you want to think about them or talk to them. When you forget someone, it is usually because you don't want to think about them or talk to them. There are several ways to forget someone. The easiest way is to avoid thinking about them and talking to them. The second easiest way is to not remember their name or face. The third easiest way is to not remember what they look like. The fourth easiest way is to not remember what they said or did. The fifth easiest way is to not remember where they are or when they will be back. Now to the real question, why do you want to forget someone? When you don't want to think about someone, it's usually because they bring you down or make you feel bad. They might have done something that you can't forgive them for, or they might just be a person that you don't want to be around. If this is the case for you, first, try to distance yourself from them. This means not spending time with them, not talking to them, and not seeing them as much as possible. This will help you to stop thinking about them and make it easier for you to forget about them. If forgetting someone is really difficult for you, try writing about what happened. This will help to process the situation and make it easier for you to forget about the person. Writing can also help to relieve some of the sadness that you are feeling. What are the benefits of forgetting someone? When we are sad and want to forget someone, it can be helpful to realize that there are many benefits to forgetting them. For one, it allows us to focus on our own feelings and not be bogged down by what the other person is doing or thinking. Second, it can help us move on from our relationship and heal from the pain that was inflicted. And also, forgetting someone can make them less likely to enter into our thoughts and mess with our head. Overall, forgetting someone can be helpful in many ways. It can help us focus on our own feelings, move on from our relationship, and make the person less likely to enter into our thoughts. Remembering someone can also be harmful in many ways. Forcing ourselves to remember someone can make us feel emotionally distant from them and can actually mess with our head. Additionally, remembering someone can cause us pain and make it difficult to move on from our relationship. Let's talk about the stages of grief, denial, anger, bargaining, and depression. When it comes to forgetting people, there are a few stages that one may go through. The first stage is denial. This is when the person tries to convince themselves that the person they want to forget doesn't exist. They might argue with themselves or refuse to believe that the person is gone. After denial, anger comes into play. This is when the individual becomes angry with the person they want to forget and might lash out at them. They might try to find ways to get revenge or make things as difficult as possible for the person they want to forget. Finally, bargaining begins. This is when the individual starts to think about how they can get the person they want to forget back into their life without hurting them too much. They might offer concessions or ask for forgiveness. After bargaining, depression sets in and the individual becomes sad and hopeless. It is important to remember that each person reacts differently to forgetting someone. Some might go through all of the stages while others might only experience a few. It is important not to get too caught up in the stages themselves and instead focus on how they are feeling. If you are experiencing any of the stages of grief, it is important to talk to someone about it. There are likely people who understand what you are going through and can offer support. So how do you really forget people you don't want to think about? When it's over, you don't have to think about them anymore. It's time to move on and forget about them. Here are some tips on how to do this. 1. Be honest with yourself. If you're trying to forget someone, be honest with yourself about why you're doing this. Is it because you don't want to remember the memory of that person and the pain they caused? Are you trying to avoid dealing with the emotions associated with that person? Honesty is key in overcoming any obstacle, so be brave and ask yourself these questions. 2. Don't keep thinking about them. When you try to forget someone, your mind will naturally turn to them a lot. This will only make it harder for you to forget them. Instead, focus on something else and push those thoughts away. Take some time for yourself each day and do something you enjoy without thinking of that person. It could be going outside, reading a book, or spending time with your friends. 3. Let go of the past. When you try to forget someone, it can be tempting to keep dwelling on what happened between the two of you. This only makes it harder to move on. Instead, try to focus on the positive things that happen between you and let go of the negative. It's okay to feel emotions about what happened, but don't keep dwelling on them. 4. Move on. When you try to forget someone, it can be hard not to think about them constantly. This is especially true if you still care about them. However, it's important to remember that forgetting someone isn't a bad thing. It means that you're moving on and that you no longer have feelings for them. Try to do things that make you happy and forget about the person who made you unhappy in the past. 5. Talk to someone. When you're trying to forget someone, it can be hard to talk about what's going on. However, talking to someone can help you move on. Talking about your feelings can help you understand them better and make sense of them. Talking to a friend or family member can also be therapeutic. 6. Get therapy. Sometimes forgetting someone is simply a symptom of something bigger. If you're struggling to forget someone and it's causing significant emotional pain, consider seeking professional help. A therapist can help you understand your feelings and work on resolving the issues that are causing them. 7. Let go of the idealized version of them. When you think about someone, it's natural to have an idealized version of them in your mind. This is a representation of who you think they are and what you expect from them. When you try to forget someone, it can be difficult to let go of this idealized version. Instead, try to focus on the reality of who that person was and what they did. This will help you move on from the relationship more easily. 8. Move on with your life. When you try to forget someone, it can be easy to focus on what they've done to you and how they've affected your life. Instead, try to focus on your own life and what you can do to move on. Even if the person you want to forget is still in your life, it's important to focus on your own happiness. Take some time for yourself each day and do something that makes you happy. 9. Let go of the idea that they'll change. When you try to forget someone, it's often tempting to believe that they will change. This is an unrealistic expectation, and it will only lead to disappointment. Instead, let go of the idea that the person you want to forget will ever change and focus on moving on with your own life. 10. Don't blame yourself. Blaming yourself for forgetting someone is a common tendency. However, this isn't helpful in any way. It only makes things worse by fueling the fire of anger and resentment. Instead, try to accept responsibility for what happened between you and the person you want to forget. This doesn't mean that you're responsible for their actions, but it does mean that you played a role in the relationship. In the reality of trying to forget a person, forgetting someone can be a difficult task. Whether you've been hurt by them or just don't want to think about them, trying to forget them can be tough. Here are a few tips to help make the process easier. Start by focusing on your own feelings. When you are feeling sad and lonely, it's easy to focus on what the other person did to you. Instead, focus on your own thoughts and emotions. This will help take the focus off of the other person and make it more about you. Set boundaries. When you start trying to forget someone, it can be tempting to keep thinking about them. It can be hard to let go of someone we care about, but it's important to do what is best for yourself. Make sure that you set boundaries with regards to how much you think about the person and how often you see or talk to them. This will help reduce the temptation to remember them negatively. Remember that forgetting someone doesn't mean they are gone forever. Just because you are trying not to think about the person doesn't mean they are forgotten. If something happens and you remember them, accept that and move on. Remember that forgetting someone doesn't mean they are no longer in your life. It just means you are focusing on them less. Let me share with you some tips for avoiding memories of the person you want to forget. When it comes to avoiding memories of someone, there are a few things you can do to make the process a little easier. First and foremost, be mindful of how often you think about that person. If you find yourself thinking about them often, it may be tough to forget them. However, if you only think about them once in a while, it will be more manageable to try and forget them. Another thing you can do is try not to dwell on the negative aspects of your relationship with that person. Dwelling on the bad times will only serve to remind you of them and make it harder to forget them. Instead, focus on the positive aspects of your relationship and try to take things for what they were, moments that made you happy. Lastly, don't expect forgetting that person to be easy. It may take time and effort, but ultimately, it will be worth it if you want to move on from your relationship.